Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Adananastrinandantai Vridamya Che Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati iti namine Sri Varsamani Videvi Daita Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namah Madhuru Jala Premaja Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Primurte Deena Tarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apisiddhanta Dvantaharine Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki. So somehow or other, though I'm totally unqualified, low-born, eating meat from the beginning of my life, drinking liquor like water, completely enwrapped in material desires, full of anarthas, somehow the Vaishnavas request me to speak on that extremely exalted, wonderful personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. He was described by his own father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as the Acharya's son, this son, not S-O-N son, S-U-N son, Acharya's son. Mm-hmm. And on this day, the fifth day of the dark half of the month of Pos, or as we call it, Narayan. This is Pos-Maina, Pos-month. In this Pos-month, every Thursday there's a Khichdi festival at Belvan. If you want to go, best way is you get a boat across the Jamuna and walk through the fields. Otherwise, 20,000 people were there. If you go by car, you'll get in a big jam. But every Thursday in this month in Belvan, there's Khichdi Mela. Everybody serves nice hot Khichdi. So on the fifth day of the dark half of this Krishna Paksh Panchami, that Acharya's sun set from the eyes of this world. So today is the fifth day of that month of Pos, Narayan. We're sitting in that very beautiful Sri Vrindavan Dham. In that Vrindavan Dham, we're sitting in the place where a devotee saw an empty lot and said, let there be a temple in devotional service to the Lord. And this most beautiful Krishna Balaram temple manifested, and so much devotional service to the Lord is going on here. And we're sitting here to glorify this great Acharya son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, by whose mercy, it is only by his mercy we're sitting here today. The wonderful place I just described, where Radha and Krishna's pastimes still going on for those who see, who have eyes to see. Because he was a second. His father was the first to think that we should preach the message. If Chaitanya is Lord of all, let all lands hear his call. I wrote a poem one time. If Chaitanya is Lord of all, let all lands hear his call. Why just Bharat Bhumi? So because of Bhaktivinoda's desire and the great endeavor of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who inspired our Srila Prabhupada to go to the West, we're sitting here in this very wonderful Krishna Balaram temple in this Sri Vrindavan Dham today. And we're gathered here to glorify the holy disappearance of that great personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. So, rather than glorifying we'll also glorify with whatever broken words we have, but we have a very beautiful poem written by Srila Sridhar Swami, who we know, as Prabhupada said, he's my Siksha Guru. Very, very beautiful. In fact, it's got a very interesting poetic device. The end of each line, whatever syllable ends each line, begins the next line. Like very, very sweet. Shujanarvuda radita pada yugam yuga dharma durandara patra baram bharada bhayadaya kapuja padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam. You see the device? Sujanarvuda radita pada yugam. Next line, you begins with Yuga Dharma Danurdara Patra Baram Bara Davaya Dayaka Puja Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Patam. Your beautiful lotus feet are cherished by millions and millions of the purest devotees, and you are the most competent personality to preach the recognized process for this era. Your sacred lotus feet are adorable as they openly grant fearlessness. I eternally offer my respects to Prabhupada's lotus feet. Bhajanordita sajana sangapatim patitadika karunaika gatim gativanchita vancha chincha vanchaka chintya padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam. Let's do a little higher, huh? You are the monarch of the high-class devotees, and you are the ultimate aim of the truly fallen due to your extreme compassion. Your inconceivable lotus feet bestow full shelter for the cheaters and the cheated. Atikomala kancha dirgatanum tanu nindita hema mrinala madam madanar buddha bandita chandra padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam. Your towering radiant golden form is so graceful and delicate. Your overwhelmingly beautiful appearance mocks the pride of golden lotus whirls, as endless cupids offer respects to your lotus toes glowing like the radiant moon. Nija seva kataraka ranji vidum vidu dahita hunkrita simhabaram baranagata balisa sandapadam pranamami sada prabhupada padam prabhupada padam. Like the charming moon among the stars, you are surrounded by your disciples, fulfilling their heart's desires like a desire tree. Your lion-like roar makes the envious quickly flee, while your soft lotus feet bestow the ultimate benefit to the innocent. Vipulikrita vaibhava gora bhuvam bhuvaneshu vikirtita gora dayam dayaniya ganarpita gora padam pranamami sada prabhupada padam pranamami sada prabhupada. You have widely spread the glories of Sri Gauranga's holy abode, Sri Mayapur Dham, and you have openly declared the nature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy throughout the universe. You have planted the lotus of Gauranga's holy feet in the hearts of your servitors. Chiragora Janasraya Viswa Gurum Guru Gora Kishora Kadasya Param Paramadrita Bhakti Vinoda Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. As the universal holy master, You are the eternal refuge for Mahaprabhu's devotees. You are always dedicated to serving your holy master, Srila Gaur Kishore, and you are a careful servant of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's lotus feet. Raghurupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam Dharani Talakirtata Jiva Kavim Kaviraja Narottama Sakya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. Your glories allow you within the intimate group of Raghunath Das, Sanatan, and Rupa Goswamis. Your philosophical conceptions have seated you along with the esteemed Srila Jiva Goswami, and you share friendly relations with Krishnadas Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur. Kripaya Hari Kirtana Murti Dharam Dharani Baraharaka Gora Janam Janakadika Vatsalya Snigdha Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. You mercifully appear as the embodiment of Hari Kirtan, thus eliminating the fences which burden the earth. Your loving disposition to the followers of Gauranga Mahaprabhu is more affectionate than even a father. Sarganagata Kinkara Kalpa Tarum Tarudika Kritadira Vadanya Param Bara Indra Kanarchita Divya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada. You are a transcendental desire tree for the Lord's unalloyed devotees. Your firm and patient nature insults the tolerance of a tree. What to speak of your benevolence? Your divine lotus feet attract the worship of great demigods like Durga Devi and Indra. Parahamsa Param Paramartha Patim Patitodarane Krita Vesha Yatim Yati Rajaganai Parisevya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Ami Sada Prabhupada Padam. Being the storehouse of life's highest wealth, pure Krishna Prem, you surpass all other Paramahamsa devotees. Simply to rescue the fallen souls, you accepted the dress of a renunciant. Hence, your divine lotus feet are adorable by the greatest of sannyasis. Vrishabhanu Sutta Daita Nucharam Charanasrita Renu Darastam Aham Mahad Adbhuta Pavana Sakti Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Param Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Param. Since you are an exclusive servitor of Vrishabhanu Nandini Srimati Radharani, my bold aspiration is to take full shelter as an atomic particle of that shining dust that clings to your beautiful lotus feet. Your wonderful Shakti can deliver the whole world. I eternally offer my respects unto that charming effulgence that shines forth from the radiant lotus toe tips of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. Very beautiful, huh? And amazing, every line, huh? Kripaya Hari Kirtana Murti Dharam Dharani Baraharaka Gora Janam Jana Adika Vatsalya Snigdha Padam Pranamami Prabhupada Param. So it's interesting, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur also appeared on a dark Panchami, the dark Panchami of Falgun, the very month that our own Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on the full moon of that Falgun month, month of Govinda. And he appeared in Puri. At that time his father was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he had become the magistrate district magistrate of Puri, one of the most important places in India. And according to the time and place, this was amazing. because generally in British India only magistrates were generally only Englishmen. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so qualified that even the Englishmen made him magistrate of Puri. And his house was not far from Singhadwar. Many of you been to Puri, you know where that place is, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta appeared on the 5th day of the month, dark half of the month of Falgun. And most amazing, when he appeared, his umbilical cord was wrapped around him just like a Brahman thread. And the astrologer who did his chart, first he recognized 32 wonderful symptoms, lakshan, what do you say? Symptoms, I guess is the best word, in his body that only appear in the bodies of great personalities. And when he read the chart, he said, I have read many, many charts in my whole life, but I have never read a chart like this. This person is destined to be a great personality in the field of religion. He will spread religious thought throughout the world. And so it came to pass, even by the age of 7, he completely memorized Bhagavad-Gita, all 700 slokas. I'm 70, I still haven't, I've only few here and there slokas, but whole 700 slokas by the age of 7. And Prabhupada tells us, our Prabhupada tells us one very interesting story. At 3 years old, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur brought home some mangoes to offer to the deities. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was just a small child. And, we forgot one thing. Shortly after his birth, at 6 months, Rath Yatra festival was there. And mysteriously, the Rath cart stopped in front of Bhaktivinoda's residence. And since her husband was the magistrate, his mother took advantage and she climbed on the cart with the small child. And immediately the garland of Lord Jagannath fell down on top of the child. So everybody was amazed. And it's described that at that time, since the cart was stopped, they did the grain ceremony of Bhaktisiddhanta on the cart with Jagannath Prasad. So very auspicious. Anyway, at 3-year-old child, what is his fault in anything? But he saw the bag of mangoes, he immediately took one and began to eat it. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and said, what are you doing? You are a great offender. These mangoes have just come in season. Whatever comes in season should first be offered to the Lord. And you have taken. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, though 3 years old, he took it so seriously. Throughout his life, he never ate mangoes again. Srila Prabhupada explains that even in his old age, we would offer him mangoes. He said, no, I'm an offender. I can't eat. We can't imagine. Small child, 3 years old. Such devotion for the Lord. So anyway, we all know, we've heard so many stories of his scholarship. He was a great astrologer and astronomist. Astronomy also, many subjects. Finally, he was working for the king of Tripura, but he left all that. And in 1905, he went to Brajapatana, right near Yogapit, and did his great tapasya of chanting 1 billion names of the Lord. 192 rounds every day for 10 years, almost 10 years. At the end of that 10 years, there was one, Rohini Nandan Kumar Ghosh, who was a high court judge in Calcutta. And he had come to Mayapur. He was under the influence of a certain Sahajya guru and his wife, whom he was forced to call mother and father. But somehow he stumbled into Srila Bhaktisiddhanta doing his jap, and he asked him many questions and was very impressed. That night he went back to his room and he had a dream, and that Sahajya, who was involved in all kinds of debauchery activities with his wife, appeared in the dream as a lion, and a tiger rather, and his wife as a tigress, and they came to devour Srila Rohini Nandan Kumar Ghosh. And At that time, this grand figure, we just heard that he very tall figure, golden figure, the bright figure of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur appeared on the scene and frightened the tiger and tigress away. And immediately he ran to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta the next morning, and he fell at his feet and begged and pleaded with him to take initiation. So this was the first, although Bhaktisiddhanta had never given initiation to anyone, this was by the sincere pleadings of this high court judge, he made him his first disciple. When he finished his vow, then of course he began his preaching in earnest. And he set up his first preaching center there, Ultadanga, which fortunately ISKCON now has complete control over. Unfortunately, they destroyed the whole thing instead of restoring. They knocked the whole thing down, but anyway, without consulting Jayapataka Maharaj. But anyway, something nice will come up there, we hope. And we know that Ultadanga was the place. Srila Prabhupada's friends insisted. Prabhupada was also a little bit disgusted, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was famous for criticizing all the charlatan gurus and sadhus. Prabhupada was also a little bit disgusted with so many so-called sadhus he saw. Although his father was feeding them, he was seeing they were smoking bidis and engaged in so many activities. But his friend said, no, you have to come see this sadhu. I don't want to see so many sadhus I see. Somehow or other they forced him to go there. And he bowed down, and before he could even sit up, before even there was introduction, before anything, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati said, you're an educated young man, you know the English language, therefore you should preach in English the message of Srimad Mahaprabhu. And at that time, Prabhupada, of course, was engaged in Gandhi's movement. So immediately he said, who will hear? We're a ruled people. Who will hear our preaching? He said, the message of Mahaprabhu is so urgent, it doesn't matter, it doesn't depend on this political system or that political system or this, anything, doesn't depend on anything material. It is the most urgent need for the fallen souls of this age. And Prabhupada had never been defeated in argument, and he was defeated. And because of that defeat, we're sitting here today in Vrindavan. Prabhupada later took the message of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So there with Ultadanga, fortunately we've gotten control of that whole building, and it has become a great place of pilgrimage. And we've heard so many stories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We just read he was known as Singha Guru, because he roared like a lion. Hunkrita Singha Gurum. Hunkra means to roar. It's even described that Mayavadis, if they were walking down the street and they saw Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati coming, they would cross over the road to avoid seeing him. He was very, at that time, Gaudiya Vaishnavism was, nobody can even looked at it out of the corner of their eye. It had become so, the Sahajas had ruined everything by, instead of worshipping the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, they were imitating the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. It was so degraded, people thought this is just, Vaishnava is just an excuse for having illicit sex life. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta struggled very hard, and of course he made many enemies, therefore he was strong like a lion. They became known as Singha Guru. And he preached very heavily against all of these malpractices that were going on in the name of Vaishnava philosophy. And he restored the glory of actual Vaishnava philosophy of Srimad Mahaprabhu. Although he was fought against very vigorously, people were very upset. He rocked the boat. They were very happy taking donations and getting worship and hardly giving any real spiritual benefit to the people. And he preached very heavily against especially the caste Goswamis, because at that time things had become so degraded we don't even want to discuss in this holy place the types of activities that were going on. One was simply becoming Goswami by birth, not by qualification. So it became such a heavy thing. In fact, one time, Because one of the things that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati re-established was Navadip Mandal Prikrama, also Braj Mandal Prikrama. And he would go on Braj Mandal Prikrama, and at one time, all the caste Goswamis got together and hired some hooligans, and they came there with rocks and sticks and stones and so many things and began to stone the devotees. Many of them were injured. Their main goal was to get Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very dangerous situation was created. The devotees were thinking what to do. So there was one devotee who had appearance very tall and light color like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. His name was Bhakti Pragan Keshav Maharaj, who we all know was Srila Prabhupada's sannyas guru. So he changed clothes with Bhaktisiddhanta, and because he was a young man, he ran away, and they chased after him, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was saved. And then people asked why Bhaktisiddhanta didn't press charges. Because what happened was these people were trying to stop Bhaktisiddhanta, but when this hit the papers, what had happened, everybody took Bhaktisiddhanta's side. So Bhaktisiddhanta said, they have done more for our preaching than we've done in the last 10 years. Why should I press charges against them? People took their side. They made the front page of the newspaper. And Gaudiya Math became very established, recognized as a bona fide representative of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. He also restarted the Brajmandal Prikrama. He used to go on Brajmandal Prikrama. We've read in Leelamrita how Prabhupada met him sometimes on Brajmandal Prikrama. And today, hardly anybody, I hardly see any. Now everybody goes by bus, but still Lokanath Swami taking up the banner of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Still they do with 1,500 devotees walking around. There's many other Prikrama groups and other Vaishnava Sampradayas, but I very rarely see Gaudiya Math in buses, and I'm also buswala myself, but footwala that Lokanath Swami has taken up along with Radharaman Maharaj and others, and we continue this tradition of foot Brajmandal Prikrama as established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Anyway, there's so many things to say. Our Bhakti Vikas Maharaj has published 3 huge volumes of works about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His greatest contribution, of course, was books. He called that the Brihat Mridanga, the greater Mridanga. That our coal, we can hear it for 2 or 3 blocks, but the printing press can be heard around the world. He established, in his lifetime, many different printing presses. I forget others, I was just reading them, but I'm getting old, so I can't remember all the... Gaudiya Printing Works was one, and he printed so many books, not only his own literature, but in order to unify, bring more unity in the Vaishnava community, he printed books from other Vaishnava Sampradayas, from Ramanuja Sampradaya, from Madhvacharya, other Sampradayas. He printed books to try to bring unity to the Vaishnava community. And thousands of books were, at the height of his preaching, thousands of books were being distributed. And of course, he established 64 temples. He was the first one. Even one temple he established outside of India in Rangoon, in Burma, or what do you call it now? Myanmar. So he was the first to establish Gaudiya temple outside of Bharatavarsha. And he inspired our own Srila Prabhupada. That was not far from where we're sitting. In Radhakund, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a house called Braja Swananda Sukhada Kunj. We know his house in Godruma Dweep was Swananda Sukhada Kunj. This was Braja Swananda Sukhada Kunj. And later, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada used that place for doing his bhajan and many things. And we have picture where we give the Bhagavad-Gita class, nice charcoal drawing is there, of Prabhupada meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur in that place. You can go there and bow your feet in the dust of that place where our Prabhupada met his Prabhupada. And they were walking on the Sangam at Radhakund, and Srila Prabhupada, that Sangam is the most sacred place for all ISKCON devotees, because that is where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur gave the order to our Prabhupada that if you ever get money, print books. Because books is something solid. Your lecture for 5 minutes will go in one ear and out the other. Just like, of course that's still good, just like one time, one sadhu, he was giving lecture every day. So one lady, she came to him, he said, Maharaj, I hear your lecture every day, it's so wonderful, but as soon as I get back to my hotel room, I forget everything you said. So Maharaj said, you go get a basket. So she brought a basket. He said, now go to the Jamuna, bring me a basket of water. Are Maharaj? He said, no, bring me a basket of water. Are Maharaj, what are you saying? Bring me a basket of water. So Maharaj told her to bring a basket of water. So she went to Jamuna, she put it in, pulled it out, all the water came out. She put it in again, all the water came out. She put it in again, all the water came out. So she went back and said, Maharaj, all the water comes out. He said, but look at your basket, it's clean, isn't it? So although we forget everything after class, still our hearts are being cleansed. He was very much determined to present the real Vaishnava Hari Katha, not just tell some stories and take some money like now it's become big fashion to do Bhagavad business. He never took money for speaking Hari Katha. In fact, there's one story, Sri Yuktamanim Chandra, the king of, I can't remember just now. He was very famous for his philanthropy for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but unfortunately he was being a sentimentalist. He couldn't understand who was a real Vaishnava and who was a charlatan. And he was being controlled by many sahajiyas and bowels and like that. But somebody convinced him that you should invite Bhaktisiddhanta. Everybody else was frightened. When they heard, so they hardly gave him chance. They gave him 5 minutes, even after a couple of minutes of speaking. They said, sit down, sir, sit down, like that. And so Maharaj was sending huge mounts of prasadam, but Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't eating anything. Just every day he would take one tulsi leaf. So finally, after 4 days of fasting, he got up and left without saying anything to the king. The king found out and ran to the train station. And it turns out the sahajiyas had told him that he's not eating your food because you're a tili. He was from a caste of, although he was a king, he was from a low caste. I'll never understand caste system. A king means he should be a kshatriya, which is high caste. But somehow he was from a caste, a tili caste, which is low caste. Anyway, varnashram I can understand, caste system I can never understand. So he was tili, he was a low caste person. And he said, no, he said, I have come here to speak Hari Katha and do good for you. If I cannot do anything for you, why should I eat your food? And second of all, if somebody doesn't understand the reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that pujari who doesn't understand the reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers food to the Lord does not accept, so it is not prasad. Therefore, having taken anything, he took the train back to Navuri, crossed over the river, went to Rajapatana the next morning and cooked and ate. So he was very interested in speaking real Hari Katha. And of course we can't talk about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, of course, about his initiation, because that's very interesting. We just discussed Brajasvananda Sukhada Kunj. So after Bhaktivinoda established it, then Gorkashore Das Babaji, he was doing his bhajan in a very beautiful place. We were just there a month ago in Suryakund. Very nice places there. And he returned to Braj, and he took a liking to Bhaktivinod's son. He had great affection for Bhaktivinod. He used to call him my Prabhu. He had great affection for him. So he had great affection. He saw Bhaktisiddhanta was sincerely trying to push the mission. So he had a tiger skin cap that his guru had gave him, and a basket of worship paraphernalia and some ropes with knots in them for japa beads. Being attracted to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he gave all these things to him. Presented him these gifts. Although he was, as we understood, he was a huge scholar, and we know Gorkishore Das Babaji was totally illiterate. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur told Bhaktisiddhanta that you have to take initiation from this Gorkishore. And everybody was after Bhaktisiddhanta. He was very learned, very powerful. He understood the philosophy, powerful preacher. All bogus gurus and charlatans would be very happy to have such a disciple counted in their list of disciples. But Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't interested in any of them. And here was this little guy who couldn't even write his own name. So then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati went to him and begged him for initiation. He said, no, I can't, I'm not initiating anybody. He said, no, you must initiate me. He said, I will ask Mahaprabhu. Next time he met him, did you ask Mahaprabhu? He said, no, I forgot. Next time he met him, he said, did you ask Mahaprabhu? I asked, but he didn't give any answer. Third time, again he was rejected. Fourth time, he stood on the bridge and said, unless you accept me as your disciple, and you have no reason to accept me, you and you're worshipping the crest jewel of all debauchees, so why he'll accept such a fallen person as me, why you should accept such a fallen person as me as disciple. But anyway, if you don't accept me as a disciple, I cannot maintain my life. And seeing the sincere desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then he told him, you go take bath in the Jalangi, and you come back, and Gorkishore Das Babaji gave him initiation. And one time, because many people question whether he was, especially the Babajis, whether he was actually initiated or not. One time in Gopinath Bazaar, I met one sadhu who was living there in a small room. I wish I had kept up my contact with him. But he told me his guru was present when Gorkishore Das Babaji gave initiation to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His guru was present. And he gave him the name Sri Barsabhanavi Devi Daita. Daita means beloved, the beloved of Barsabhanavi, the daughter of King Brisabhanu. And he loved to listen to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati lecture. Sometimes he would hide himself in the crowd when he would go to big meetings and give lectures. There's one very interesting, Bhaktivikasa's book is filled with so many wonderful stories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. We all know about his strictness and everything and his being Singha Guru, but Bhaktivikas Maharaj has captured some incidents that show what a soft heart, because here this poem was talking about how soft he was. That he would get up in the night and go in the brahmachari ashram and make sure all the mosquito nets were tied properly, otherwise the boys would get bit by mosquitoes, they get malaria, and the preaching will be stopped. He was so soft-hearted, he personally would go and make sure the mosquito nets were tied properly. He made sure that everybody got prasad. He was very much interested not only in Hari Katha but also distributing prasad. So many incidents are there. If somebody wrote an article, he would just count how many times Krishna is mentioned, and he would give him great praise. There's this kind side that we don't hear. There's one very interesting story that Bhaktivikas Maharaj has kept in his book. I forget which Gaudiya Math it was, but it was under construction, so everything was just temporary. So there was a temporary bamboo go-down where all the boga for the offerings was kept. And the pujari, first of all, that morning, he gave a class, and that class was one of those heavy classes that you can't have any pinch of material desire. If you're attached to anything in this material world, you will not go back to home, back to God. You can't have the slightest pinch of desire for anything in this world. Heavy, heavy class like that, So then he was sitting on his desk. He had a little desk, wooden desk. He's sitting on a mat. And those days it wasn't ballpoint pens, Schaefer pen. You had a glass and you dipped the pen in the glass and you wrote like that. So he had the little bottle of ink there, his paper there. He was writing his literature. And the pujari went to the go down. He opened it up. He got something out. He didn't latch it properly. So then the monkey jumped down, came running, opened the door, ran inside, grabbed a bunch of bananas. As soon as he grabbed those bananas, Bhaktisiddhanta jumped up. He spilled the ink all over whatever he was writing, and he grabbed a stick and he chased that monkey. And then the cook came very sheepishly and he set his table back, he put his writing back. Of course, now everything was ruined, ink all over the place. And he stood there, expecting to get chastised. And he said, "But Maharaj, I don't understand one thing. You gave your lecture about how we can't be attached to anything material, and just for a few bananas, you knocked over all your writing and spilled ink all over everything and chased this monkey." And Bhaktisiddhanta said, "You rascal, you think those are your bananas. Those are Radharani's bananas." So we shouldn't be attached to anything for our own sense gratification, but we should be attached to whatever paraphernalia we have. We have to take care of it properly. In old days when I was in ISKCON, it was very famous that cars never worked. There was always the one door that never opened. There was the red light would come on. Oh, that's just a short circuit, and after a while the engine blew up because there's no oil. But we have to be not attached to things for our sense gratification, but attached to things for the service of the Lord. So he used that yukta vairagya. In fact, he was one of the very first. He was a maverick, as Bhakti Vikas Maharaj uses the word. Sannyasis aren't supposed to travel by motor cars. We've seen that glorious picture, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur sitting in the motor car. Because anything, sannyasis aren't supposed to use stitched cloth, but we've seen so many pictures. Of course, the famous pictures are all those were my favorites as a young devotee. I always used to sit in front of that picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur with just his uttariya across his soft chest. He was like one of my heroes in Krishna consciousness when I was a young devotee. But he used stitched cloth. Sannyasis weren't supposed to cross the ocean. He sent his disciples across the ocean to England, to Rangoon, so many places, Germany. But not for sense gratification, not for making money. Just like everybody else goes, everybody wants to go to America just to make money. But Prabhupada went there to give Krishna consciousness. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada sent his devotees there to give Krishna consciousness. Because nobody succeeded as well as marvelously, I should say, as our Srila Prabhupada. In fact, our Prabhupada was told when he got to America, "Oh, Swamiji, you have to give up this cloth, the sannyasi cloth. You have to wear a suit and tie. You have to learn to eat with knife and fork." And Prabhupada says, "I haven't come here to beg anything from these people, learn anything from these people. I have come to teach these people." Another interesting story. They were in a place called Kharagpur. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was writing, and he called one brahmachari. He said, "Sit here and chant Srimad Bhagavatam." So he sat and he was reading Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely, reciting it. All of a sudden he looked and this ghostly hand came through the window like this towards Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. He took one look, fainted. Bhaktisiddhanta got him up. He said, chant Bhagavatam. So he sat up and he was reciting again. Again this hand came, a ghostly looking hand. And again this poor brahmachari fainted. Then again Bhaktisiddhanta woke him and said, chant, chant. So he sat up and again chanted, and he just kept chanting and chanting. That ghostly hand came. The more he chanted, finally that ghostly hand just disappeared out the window and never appeared again. So many interesting stories are there. So this is the disappearance day. We don't like to talk about the disappearance of the great devotees, but today is a disappearance day. Bhaktisiddhanta had been in Puri, but somebody invented some bogus rhyming mantra. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were against this mantra. In the old days when I first joined Krishna Balaram Temple, they used to blast that mantra over the loudspeakers right on our property. And I was told by my older godbrothers who served in Vrindavan when Prabhupada was here, that Prabhupada told them that you chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Jai Krishna Balaram. This is bona fide because we're simply singing the names of our deities, but just to counteract this other mantra. So sometimes in Kirtan you can chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Jai Krishna Balaram. But somehow or other people are very sentimental. Nobody knows real Vaishnava philosophy. 90% of the people are just sentimentalists. So he had a great following in Puri, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very vehemently preaching against his ideas and against this mantra and some of their so-called practices. So it became very dangerous. So Bhaktivinoda requested him, you return to Calcutta. So he returned there from Ultadanga. Now they had a beautiful mutt in Bagh Bazar, which is where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left this world as a place of pilgrimage for us. We can go there. So he returned there and he began preaching very heavily against profit adoration and distinction. This is the biggest obstacles, because as soon as you begin to preach Krishna consciousness, then you become very popular. And it's very easy to go to your head. And you become puffed up. And we know Krishna doesn't like pride in his devotees, because the gopis also thought themselves the most fortunate women in the universe. Krishna disappeared from their midst. So he was preaching very heavily in his last days about this love, puja and pratishta, profit adoration, the distinction, and how to work together and not be entrapped by material desires, very heavily preaching. He was always again and again saying, we just follow the footsteps of Rupa Raghunath. We know how renounced the Goswamis were. They were staying under one tree one night, another tree another night. We've been to Raghunath Das's Bhajan Kutir in Radhakund, and we've heard the stories how he was hardly 2 hours he was sleeping and eating, and even at eating with just a little bit of chach. So somehow he had a hint that he was leaving. He was preaching very heavily. And finally, on this 5th day of the dark half of the month of Pos or Narayan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, uttering the holy name of Krishna, that Acharya sun set from the eyes of this world. Hare Krishna. So they brought his body back to Mayapur, where he'd established Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, and had a beautiful Radha Kund there called Brajapatana. That's where he'd performed his 1 billion names. So just near that place they established a beautiful samadhi. Sometimes you go to Mayapur, you can go there and put your head in the dust of his lotus feet and beg for him that we can also preach as strongly and vigorously as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. Well, bell is rung, my voice is finished, so we'll put our voice to rest here. If there's any questions or somebody else would like, there's such a vast subject, there's millions of stories I could have told, but we'll put our voice to rest here if anybody has questions or comments or other things to add. Because we can go over, because it's fasting day today. Then there's Puspanjali at what time? 12:45 Puspanjali in the temple room here. And we're very fortunate we have one devotee, Bhaktisiddhanta Das, and he's a very wonderful artist, so he's made this beautiful murti of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. It's sitting on Vyasasan today to Kripadika. It's described his extremely merciful glance. So we're getting an extremely merciful glance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada today, our Parama and Parama Guru. So anyway, my voice is giving out, so we'll stop here. Anybody else has anything to say or any question? Prabhupada talks about how, because he was so strict and everything, but somehow he was very kind. This poem describes about his kindness, very ati komala. Komala means very soft and sweet. He said, but he was always very kind to me. He would always call me to come and walk with him. And he told me so many stories. He told me one time that in Navadvip, the Kasko Swamis, they were upset with Bhaktisiddhanta. So they collected 25,000 rupees. It was a lot of money in those days. It's like 2.5 lakhs nowadays, maybe even more. And they went to the chief of police and said, we're going to fix this guy, Bhaktisiddhanta, you don't do anything. So the police, he went to Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. He said, this is a situation. Of course, we accept bribes and we do these things, but not for a sadhu. So you should be careful. He said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati personally told me this story. So he risked his life for us to be able to sit here in this Krishna Balaram Mandir enjoying these wonderful stories of his glories. So nobody else wants to say anything, then we'll all fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of that great personality who wasn't satisfied who believed that if Lord Chaitanya is Lord of all, let all lands hear his call. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say, I began by saying that of course I am the most unqualified person to speak on such a great personality. Very fallen, low-born, everything. But actually it's appropriate that such a fallen, low-born rascal speak to show the glories of Bhaktisiddhanta, how even such a low-born, fallen, full of material faulted rascal could be saved by his mercy. So I'm example. We describe how he's patita pavan without having example, how will we believe?